In this unit, I would like to cover the sales tax that you collect and your sales tax return. So you're going to collect sales tax when you sell a vehicle to an Idaho resident, and you're going to need to do what's called a sales tax return. I'm going to show you both of those. First of all, to collect sales tax, you must have that valid seller's permit. You're going to collect sales tax when you sell a vehicle to an Idaho resident. You're going to need to forward that sales tax to the state. That's called a sales tax return. So you're going to have to file what's called a sales tax return. So first of all, let's go ahead and talk about the regular sales tax that you're charging. Let's say, for example, you've sold a $5,000 vehicle to an Idaho resident. It's very simple math. You're going to take the purchase price of $5,000 and multiply it by Idaho's sales tax rate of 6%, would be $300. You'll add the $300 to the sales price, and a person that's buying a vehicle from you and they're an Idaho resident, they're going to pay about $5,300 on a $5,000 vehicle. Now, they're also allowed what's called a trade-in allowance, and you're probably aware of this, but when somebody buys a vehicle from you, a licensed motor vehicle dealer, and they trade something else, they're allowed a trade-in allowance. And there's a lot of regulations that you want to definitely be aware of that, because you can accept merchandise on trade as well. But you want to make sure that you're following all of these guidelines when you are accepting trade-ins, because it will definitely lower your customer's sales tax liability. So let's make this real easy here. Let's say, for example, you're selling a $5,000 car and you're taking a $2,000 trade-in. So what we're going to do, we'll take the purchase price of the vehicle of $5,000. We're going to subtract the $2,000 will equal a taxable value of $3,000. And then we're going to multiply the $3,000 by the state sales tax rate of 6%, would be $180. So a person that buys a vehicle from you for $5,000 with a $2,000 trade-in, the customer is going to pay the dealer about $3,180. Now, let's throw in a dealer fee. Now, possibly you're charging a dealer fee. Well, you will need to charge sales tax on a dealer fee. And a dealer fee is something that you might charge to cover some of your operational costs. So let's say, for example, you sell a $5,000 car and you've charged a $200 dealer fee. So you're going to take the $5,000 vehicle and then add the $200 dealer fee. So the taxable value on that transaction would be $5,200. And you'll multiply that by the state's 6% sales tax rate. And that customer is going to pay about $5,512 out the door. And I'm going to show you software in just a moment that's going to compute all this automatically. But remember, you're collecting that sales tax when you've sold a vehicle to an Idaho resident. You don't collect sales tax when you sell a vehicle to someone that lives in another state, but when you sell a vehicle to someone that lives in a state of Idaho, you will collect sales tax. So I want to make sure that you're aware of that. Now, you're going to need to pay that sales tax that you've collected to the state. And you're going to be able to do that very, very simply through a website called the Taxpayer Access Point, which is referred to as TAP. And I want to show you a couple of things here. First of all, I'm always going to recommend that you file your sales tax returns on a monthly basis. Now, if you're a small dealer and you're only selling a couple, 2 or 3, or a very small handful of vehicles a year, you are allowed to either do quarterly filing or annual filing. But since you're going to be an Idaho licensed motor vehicle dealer, you are one of the very largest sales tax generators in the state. So typically when you sell a vehicle, you will be charging a substantial amount of sales tax. So I'm going to recommend to you to file your sales tax returns every single month. And I want to show you those filing dates right now. As you can see at the top of the screen, there's the monthly filing dates, the quarterly filing dates, and the annual filers. Let's go ahead and magnify this here a little bit, because I do recommend that you file your sales tax returns every single month. Your sales tax returns must be filed before the 20th of the month following the month that you collected the sales tax. So let's say, for example, you're reporting all the sales tax that you've collected in the month of January. Those returns are due before February 20th. If you're showing the state all the sales tax that you collected in the month of February, those reports are due before March 20th. So always remember, your sales tax returns are due before the 20th of the month following the month that you actually collected the sales tax. And this is mandatory, which we're talking about here, because if you do not file your sales tax returns, first of all, they'll start giving you fines. Then they'll revoke your seller's permit, and you can't have a dealer's license without a seller's permit. So this is part of the gig here. So you want to get in the habit, I recommend, of doing your sales tax returns every month. In fact, I recommend that you get in the habit of filing your sales tax returns on the first day of every single month. So when one month ends and the next month begins, I recommend doing your sales tax returns on the first day. That way you would never go across that 20th window on the deadline, okay? Now, how do you get to TAP? There's a couple of ways. You can either go to tax.idaho.gov, and on the homepage there, you're going to see log into TAP, or you can type in the actual website itself, idahotap.gentax.com. So the first thing that we're going to need to do, and you'll need to do this before you start selling vehicles. So you're going to need to go ahead and create an account on the TAP website. So you're going to go ahead and click on sign up, as you see right there. And there's a couple of easy ways you can sign in. You can take the quiz for the same day access and just enter all of your information, including your new employer identification number, or you can have them send you a letter with a registration code. And I'm always going to recommend that you do everything online because that's going to make things much, much quicker for you. So once you've done that, you're going to get a confirmation there. And there's a couple of things before I show you this that you cannot do in TAP. So I want to make sure that you don't mix this up with other state websites. What you cannot do is apply for the seller's permit, because this is a little bit different than that seller's permit that I showed you in the very first section. You can't amend tax returns and you can't file your income taxes. This is only for transferring the sales tax that you have collected to the state. So let's go ahead and create an account. We're going to go to idahotap.gentax.com, and right up there at the top, you'll go ahead and create that account. And once you're ready to file a return, it's very, very easy. Let's say it's the first day of the month and you want to go ahead and file a return. You're just going to verify all the information there, and you will enter the amount that you've collected for that month. Now, with that being said, most software programs, like the one I'll show you here in just a moment, is going to track the amount of sales tax you've collected for every single month. So if you ever need to find out all the sales tax that you've collected for 1 month, you can just boot up your software program very easily, and it's going to track all the software that you collected, all the sales tax that you've collected for 1 month. So when you're ready to roll, you can get ready to file that report. But here on TAP, there's a couple of things that I want you to be aware of. You will be sent messages by the state if there's important information you need to be aware of. As it says here on this screen, this particular account has 19 messages and a couple of unread letters, and they might even show you if you have any balances due that you haven't previously paid. So on your home page of TAP, you're going to be able to review all the sales tax submissions that you've made, along with any messages from the state, letters, and you'll easily be able to view your past payments and returns and update your names and addresses as well. So let's go ahead and submit that sales tax report. We can definitely do that online just by filing it directly. Or if you're more comfortable doing it with paper, you can use Idaho Sales and Use Tax Return Form 850. So if you would rather mail in those in, you can certainly do that. There's a little more time involved with that, but it's the easiest way to do it is to just pay those sales taxes that you've collected directly online through TAP. So please keep that in mind. But if you're more comfortable doing things on paper, you can actually just send all of that information into the state if that's more convenient for you. Now, there are some specific tax hotlines that I want to give you here. You can go ahead and call the Boise area if you're in that area, or statewide, you can call the toll-free number there. If you need to fax them, you can certainly do that. And I do want you to be aware, this is one of the best email addresses that I'm going to give you during this course because they are very, very responsive. It's efilehelp@tax.idaho.gov. That's efilehelp@tax.idaho.gov. And what I have found, if you do have sales tax questions, they respond pretty quickly because that is actual revenue for the state. So I'm going to strongly recommend that you file your sales tax returns and pay that sales tax that you've collected from Idaho residents on the first day of every single month. Remember, there is a deadline. You must file your monthly reports before the 20th of the following month. Otherwise, you could have your seller's permit revoked and you could have your dealer's license revoked as well. So I want to repeat, this is part of the gig. Please be sure to file your sales tax returns in a very timely manner.